Muddy or chocolate milk-looking water is common in Indiana waterways. What makes our local waterways appear this way? Sediments. Contaminated stormwater travels through a series of ditches and stormwater pipes that are directly connected to our water bodies. These separate storm pipes do not go to the wastewater treatment plant, so the contaminated stormwater runoff does not get treated before it is released into the environment. This video is the first in a series focusing on active construction site best management practices, or BMPs, for handling stormwater runoff, including erosion and sediment control. We will cover the items needed to initially prepare our construction site for access and before the site grading begins. These items include pre-con or pre-construction meeting including self-monitoring, site access, construction entrance, wheel wash, signage and rain gauge, preservation and protection, sequence schedule, tree preservation and protection, haul roads, stockpiles. Pre-con or pre-construction meeting including self-monitoring. What is the practice and what does it do? Before an active construction project begins, a local government, such as a county, city, or municipal government, or state permitting authority will usually conduct a pre-construction or pre-con meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to review all items related to the construction site runoff control and permitting requirements for site management. One of the most important items covered during these meetings are the ongoing documentation requirements for updating the SWIP and completing self-monitoring site inspections with detailed reports. How to inspect. Permitting authority inspectors will ask for and review these documents as part of their overall site inspection. Refer to the ordinance or law that applies to determine how often self-monitoring inspections and reports must be completed. Obtain or develop an inspection form and have copies ready before the project starts. Keep completed inspection reports in an easy-to-find location such as a 3-ring binder in the job site trailer. Site access and construction entrances practices. What is a practice? What does it do? This practice is to provide a defined ingress-egress location to a construction site and minimize tracking of mud and sediment onto public roadways. The construction entrance is a sediment control measure typically consisting of a stabilized aggregate pad with geotextile underlayment. The construction entrance might also be a portable device constructed of steel or high-density polyethylene. How does it work? The movement of the tires across the aggregate helps to knock the sediment off the tires before the vehicle enters a public roadway. How to install? The construction entrance is excavated to dimensions appropriate to follow the proper number of wheel turns to remove soil from the treads of construction vehicles and equipment. The aggregate or track-out control device is placed on an appropriate geotextile. How to maintain? Inspect daily. Reshape pad as needed for drainage and runoff control. Top dress with clean stone or completely remove and replace stone as needed. Immediately remove mud and sediment tracked or washed onto public roadways. Flushing should only be used if the water can be conveyed into a sediment trap or basin. How to inspect. Inspectors should check to ensure the aggregate is in adequate amounts and is not filled with sediment. Also, check to make sure the geotextile has been installed under the aggregate. Similarly, track-out control devices should be inspected, being lifted, emptied of soils, and put back into place. Wheel wash. What is the practice? What does it do? Wheel wash devices include pressurized pumped water, steel racks, or other portable devices. How does it work? Pressurized water is used to remove mud and sediment from the entire perimeter and underside of vehicle and equipment wheels and frames. The washout is managed to prevent accumulated sediment and sediment-laden runoff from leaving the job site. Pressurized water wheel wash devices are used alone or in combination with construction site BMPs. How to install. Install the wheel wash devices prior to any land-disturbing activity and such that all construction traffic is directed to exiting the site through the wheel wash locations. How to maintain. Mud and sediment that collects on, in, or adjacent to the wheel wash device will need to be managed by removal. Remove discharge wash water as needed. Maintain a clean runout pad. How to inspect. Inspect to ensure washer spray is directed to remove material on the entire perimeter of the wheels and vehicle frames. Inspect down gradient sediment treatment PMP to ensure ongoing effectiveness. Inspect for mud and sediment deposits on public roadways. Signage and rain gauge. What is the practice? What does it do? Indiana laws require project site owners to post a notice near the main entrance of the project site, which must include their complete notice of intent or NOI letter, contact information, and location of the SWIP. It is also a good idea to include a rain gauge on the site or use other precipitation monitoring devices to keep track of the amount of rainfall within a 24-hour period. This information is used to determine if the self-monitoring site inspection must be conducted. How to inspect. Inspectors should check that posted signs are located near the main entrance of the project and that all information can be seen and easily read. Preservation and protection. What is the practice and what does it do? During the construction site planning process, the natural and unnatural features on each specific site as well as adjacent areas should be carefully considered and marked on the SWIP. How does it work? An inventory is conducted and data is collected on the resources that are associated with the project site, such as the amount of existing vegetative cover, the types and properties of soils, topography and hydrological information, and existing infrastructure and utilities. Incorporating these unique features into the design and layout of the project site can minimize the overall impact of the project. How to inspect. The SWIP should be used to document that the preservation and protection concept has been incorporated into the project site plans. SWIP reviewers will check for this during the plan review process. Sequence or work schedule. What is the practice and what does it do? Randy Braun from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management explains.
The sequence of construction is basically the timeline that is used to implement the stormwater pollution prevention plan. The sequence is basically when the stormwater quality measures, erosion sum control measures, are going to be installed on that project in relation to the land disturbing activities. This is a key element of implementation because you want the stormwater quality measures to be implemented.
How to inspect. Inspectors evaluate the work sequence and compare it to the current conditions at the site to see if the schedule is being followed. Tree preservation and protection. What is the practice and what does it do? Tree preservation and protection preserves and protects trees as well as other vegetation that will remain on the completed project site. How does it work? Trees to be preserved are marked on site and in the SWIP. Soil compaction in these areas should be avoided and care should be taken not to damage trees. How to install. Trees are marked to be protected or for removal if damaged or needed for thinning purposes as noted on the SWIP. Fencing and signage are often installed around desired tree specimens. Typically, the tree protection area should be at or beyond the drip line of the tree. How to maintain. Periodically check that fences or other barriers are still intact and repair any damaged areas. If trees are damaged, repair immediately. Repair of wounded areas allow trees to heal quickly, thus reducing insect and disease problems. How to inspect. Inspectors should check protection barriers and document visible damage to trees. Haul roads. What is the practice? What does it do? A construction site haul road is a temporary road built to facilitate the movement of workers, equipment, and/or materials during the construction site job activities. How does it work? Haul roads can deteriorate quickly and cause off-site sedimentation if they are not properly maintained. Haul roads may be easily stabilized by using the appropriate geosynthetic under the aggregate. Temporary portable materials constructed of high-density polyethylene and polypropylene are also available. How to install. Haul roads must include an appropriate engineered design that includes practices to ensure proper drainage as well as erosion and sediment control. How to maintain. Repair when signs of accelerated erosion are detected. Ensure that drainage is working and that the road and discharge areas are stable. Maintain effective erosion and sediment control measures. Minimize the area of soil disturbed and exposed to erosion when conducting maintenance operations. Stabilize and rehabilitate disturbed soil as soon as possible. How to inspect. Conduct regular inspections to check the road formation is performing adequately. Inspect sediment and erosion control structures during and after heavy rainfall and minimize traffic where possible. Ensure road usage is commensurate with road design. Stockpiles. What is the practice? What does it do? Stockpiles of soil, stone, or other materials must be properly managed on a site so they do not spread out over time and cause polluted runoff. How does it work? Stockpiles must be properly protected and located away from stormwater inlets, drainage ways, concentrated flow areas, and sensitive or protected areas. How to install. Cover stockpile with a tarp or other soil stabilizing measures. For example, using an inexpensive grass seed, hydromulches, and/or erosion control blankets to establish vegetation. Surround using temporary perimeter sediment barriers such as berms, dikes, silk fences, or sand barriers. Soil stockpiles can be stabilized with bonded fiber materials that are hydrologically applied with a hydro seeder. How to maintain. Repair or replace any BMP failure areas. If perimeter controls must be temporarily moved to access the stockpile, then they must be replaced by the end of the workday. How to inspect. Stockpile BMPs should be inspected to ensure no migration of stockpile materials. By implementing these BMPs as described, your project is off to a great start. Please refer to local and/or state regulations and technical standards that contain the detailed requirements for your project site. Thank you for doing your part to improve the water quality in our local, state, and national water bodies. For additional resources, visit the Indiana Stormwater Quality Manual provided by IDEM, entitled Planning and Specification Guide for Effective Erosion and Sediment Control in Post-Construction Water Quality, and Comprehensive Stormwater Management Ordinance of Tippecanoe County and Tippecanoe County Stormwater Technical Standards Manual, both available at this address.